Hello and welcome. This is Rooflemonger, and my friends, this is my tips and tricks guide for Giovanna in Guilty Gear Strive. Now, as always, these videos, they're gonna be longer, so I have timestamps everywhere. Skip to whatever sounds good to you. We're gonna be covering a lot of aspects of the character, from more basic stuff to more advanced concepts. So use the timestamps below to just go with whatever sounds good. That said, as always, let's start at the start here, and let's just cover her basic moveset. So for Giovanna's special moves, we have first Sepultura. So it's quarter circle back and kick, and it's a big old dog kick. She uses her dog spirit to kind of just kick you roughly about the face. Now, as far as moves work, this one is an absolute workhorse. Because you're going to be using it for everything. You can use it in neutral, and we'll discuss the applications of that later on in the video. You're going to be using it in a lot of combos. It's going to be one of your main combo enders, if not the main combo ender. It has a lot of utility in a lot of situations. It can create juggles, and one of the best things about it is if the enemy were to block the move, it is barely negative. So if it gets blocked, it's kind of whatever, because it's only -4. In 99% of situations, considering the pushback of the move, it is simply not punishable. It's really that simple. The only situations where it could be punishable, and only some characters could punish it, is if you did it literally point blank. Other than that, you're good to go. And top that off with the fact you can backdash after the fact, try to steal your turn back. It's pretty dang solid. Suffice to say, you're going to be seeing this move used a lot. Next up, we have Travau, and this is quarter circle forward and kick. So this is your cannon drill, spiral arrow, whatever you want to call it. This is that kind of move, although it's a little bit different. First off, one thing to note here is it totally destroys projectiles. You can throw a projectile at her, and she'll just go right through it, so it's very handy. Also, the move, and this is one of the key components of Giovanna, because we'll say this quite a bit, it is advantage on block. So at point blank, this is plus 2 frames of advantage. So you'll go 2 frames of animation, you'll recover rather 2 frames of animation faster than your enemy will. So generally speaking, that means you do this, and if you hit a quick button first and they hit a quick button first, you're always going to win, right? And the further you are out later into the move, it's actually more plus as it hits later in the active frames. So destroys projectiles plus on block, pretty good, right? The only thing that saves it from being just completely brain dead and abusable and spammable is the fact there is a bit of startup. Because if you do this move, you can definitely 6p it on reaction if they anticipate it. Because they actually have to be looking for it. If you're not looking for it, then you're going to get hit. Also lovely is you will get combos on counter hit. So if you get that counter hit, just go to town. So no matter how you want to use it, as an anti-projectile, as a way to kind of just keep your turn, or as a way of like, I don't want to play neutral, I just want to get in. This thing works a lot. The only thing, once again, that holds it back is slower startup, but as long as you don't go too crazy on it, people won't be anticipating it, thus they won't be 6p'ing it. Sol Nascente, this is Dragon Punch motion and slash. So this is not quite a Dragon Punch, almost, but unlike other full invincible reversals, well, it's not full invincible. There's a lot of upper body invincibility, so it is very good at stopping, various jumps. And if you do stop a jump with it, you'll get a nice big counter hit, and from there, you can get all sorts of combo opportunity. But you can hit her out of it, just the part where you can hit her out of it is very low to the ground. You have to basically tap her toes. So if you do anything that's like more kind of level with the ground, or any kind of airborne, she will win. But if you hit her with a low, you will stuff it. So good anti-air, and her 6p is also not a bad anti-air, by the way, just so you know. But good anti-air and a good way to steal turns, which we'll talk about later. Next we have Sol Puente, which is the flippy kick. So this guy here can cross up, which is very good. So one of the things about the move, besides the fact that it crosses up and you have to block the other way, is there's actually an additional hit besides what you see here. So if you manage to hit the enemy in a way that's like behind them, the very beginning of the flip actually has a hit behind it. So it's an additional way to cross up the enemy. So you can create very quick, very hard to react to cross-ups. Also, it is a natural combo from jumping kick. I'll talk more about that later, but that's kind of one of the core of her cross-up game. Now, another big thing, this is what we talked about earlier, when it comes to the fact of you blocking it, it is very plus on block. It is +4 on block. So in those situations where you both hit your quick button after the fact, you are extra always going to win. It doesn't matter if it hits in front, it doesn't matter if it hits cross up, if they block it at all, it is still your turn, which makes it very strong. Now, as you can see at the startup, it's a little bit of startup, right? So this is another one of those situations where if you do it, the enemy can like 6p it on reaction if they're on the ball and they're looking for it, because that's always the thing, right? If they're not looking for it, or if they're a bit slow or a bit confused, you're going to get a free hit. And worst case scenario, it gets blocked, and then, you know, it's still your turn. Go for a throw, go for a strike, whatever. And if it hits, well, then it hits. That's great. Also enters the air pretty quick. So if the enemy's pestering you with a lot of lows, you can actually kind of go over the low and then crank them on the other side. So pretty useful all around. Giovanna also has a series of command normals. So this is forward heavy slash, and you can do it up to 3 times in a row, which leads to this combo. If you're a fan of King of Fighters, this is sort of like a Kim Kapuan kind of deal. You use this mostly for combo enders, as it carries the opponent a fair distance. It is always a hard knockdown, meaning the enemy has no say when they get it at a fixed rate, which is very strong when it comes to things like Okazeme pressuring people on their wake up. And also, you are allowed to heavily delay all the hits. So for extra corner carry or situations where if you do it so fast, it'll just whiff entirely. So it's pretty handy. Combo ender, though, is the main reason you're going to be using this. Now, when it comes to her super moves, Ventania is half circle back, forward, and heavy slash. And she does like a forward moving spin kick kind of deal. This is her only true invincible reversal. She has other moves with partial invincibility, like Sol Nascente or 6p or whatever, but this is full invincible everywhere. Now, it's very death on block, as most supers tend to be, but it has a very good amount of forward corner carry, so very good to bring the enemy to the wall or break the wall. And being your only full invincible option, if you're truly getting pressured big time on wake up, this is really your only real go-to. So it's just strong across the board, and you'll be using it a fair bit. Tempestade, this is double fireball motion in the air and heavy slash, and it's a dive kick. And if you connect well, then you get a whole very elaborate animation of you working with your dog pal and spinning the enemy out. And one of the big things here, this is against the rule. Most supers in the game, the overwhelming majority of supers in this game, do not work this way. But this move is plus on block. So if the enemy blocks this move, it is still very much your turn, unlike the majority of supers in the game. The majority of the supers in the game, the enemy gets a full punish on you, let alone worrying about who's negative or plus, right? So this is plus on block. So if you are just super frustrated and like you got nothing, you don't know what to do, you can always like super jump your way in and just kind of go for it. And at the very least, it'll for the most part work. Like, it'll still lose to, invincible reversal if they smell it out, but the startup's pretty fast, and it's just kind of an easy way in no matter what. And if it hits all the better. Also, due to the nature of her combo structure, there's a lot of times where, like, if you are even a little bit off, you can't get the combo, but you can always get this because this is an airborne super. So in those situations, it's great. Now, to talk about Giovanna in general, Giovanna is one of the more straightforward characters in the game. She did get more complex as of the most recent patch, the October balance patch, because it added a whole bunch of looping combos that she never had access to before. And we'll have a whole section on the loops later in the video. Other than the loops, however, she remains pretty straightforward. So her general game plan is simply get in and run you over. Now, there's some stuff to talk about the nuance if she's a rushdown character, which we'll also get into. But she has a bundle of good normals, some of the better normals in the game, which we'll also talk about. And she just wants to get in and bulldog you. That's really about the long and short of it. And she has all sorts of moves to make that a reality. Plus frames, for example. Plus frames are among the rarest things in the game. There's not many moves in the game that are plus. You know, the average move is negative. You know, a lot of moves are punishable, but very few moves are, it's still your turn after the fact. And for Giovanna, she has quite a few of them, right? So that's one of the more advantageous aspects of the character. Her unique dash offers her a lot of things that other characters simply can't do, which we'll also talk about more depth later on in the video. But overall, other than the somewhat more advanced loop combos, she is pretty straightforward. You can just play her, go in, bulldog, hit buttons, and it'll work for the most part. There's a lot more nuance, obviously, but hey, that's what the rest of the video is for. So that said, now let's get to the rest of the video. So now to talk about one of the more core aspects of Giovanna as a character, one that the game doesn't explain really at all, and that's how her meter gain works. So as we get to about 50% meter, so we're almost at 50% meter now. Let's walk forward here, and all of a sudden you're going to see a little flash. There you go, right? So that indicates Giovanna is now at level 1. And if we keep going, we keep attacking here, eventually we'll get a full meter, and once we get our full meter, well then that's going to change up yet again. And when it changes up yet again, we enter what I call the Shrek Install, because now she's all green, right? And no one's ever came up with a better term for it since I called it the Shrek Install. So Shrek Install it remains. So you can see things are changing with the character, and very obviously at full meter because the character very visibly physically changes, right? So what exactly is going on here? Thankfully, it's actually pretty simple once you understand the core concept of it. So basically at level 1, level nothing, level 0, whatever you want to call it, your moves do the same value, right? 45 for the base heavy slash. But once we hit level 1, all of a sudden, now it does 47. Interesting enough, right? So now it's basically a permanent damage boost as long as you have at least 50% tension. Once you enter 100% tension, now you can see here it does 49. So it's just a flat damage boost across the board. Effectively at level 1, you do 5% more damage, and at level 2, where your color changes, you do 10% more damage. So it's just more damage. Also note, for the purposes of super moves, even though it drains your bar, you will keep whatever your damage was before you did it. So 168 at level 1, and if we were to max out here, now all of a sudden the same super will do just a little bit more damage. You can see here, 176. So yeah, it took the bar to do the move, yes, but until the move is over, you will retain that damage bonus. Also, it's not just bonus damage, it is also bonus defense. So as it stands, basically, once you're level 1, you take less damage. Your effective health becomes something like a Nagoriyuki. You take less damage overall, and at level 2, your damage reduction bonus is now something more like a Potemkin. So you do more damage, and you take less damage. That's one of the beauties of the character. Once again, as we mentioned earlier in general game plan, she's straightforward, because you don't really got to think about it. As long as you have the meter up, it just does the bonus. There's no anything else extra required of you. As soon as you hit level 1, boom, you get the level 1 bonus. You do a little bit more damage, you take a little bit less damage, and when you're level 2, you do even more damage, you take even less damage. That's really all there is to it. You don't gotta think about it. So as far as bonuses go, that's very unique. No one else in the game has a bonus like this, and it's just strictly all upside. Now, it's not so much upside. You might be in a situation where you might want to spend meter and then you don't. For the most part, in those situations, yeah, you should still probably spend the meter, but it's just a great little bonus for the character. It helps you win more and lose less. So now let's talk notable normals. Every character has all sorts of normals, but you know, some are a little better than others, right? And let's talk about exactly those. First up here, gotta talk the sweep. So this is basically the only other move where the dog actually attacks. And the sweep is a hell of a move. Why? Because it has what we call a disjointed hitbox. The part where you can hit Giovanna is actually Giovanna. The rest of the move is all hit. You can't hit her back. So basically the end of where the dust is can hit you, but the only part where you can hit Giovanna is where Giovanna is. So she has a pretty significant advantage over you in a war of buttons, because she can do this from much further out and hit you, and you can't hit her. So it makes it very strong for whiff punishes. It just, overall, just a very strong move. It's also barely negative on block if you just want to use it by itself, which is great. And it has a pretty strong counter hit. So if you want to go sweep into Sepultura, which most of the time is a safe bet, and you happen to get the counter hit on the sweep, you juggle the enemy very highly.
You're slow.
From which point you can get, a more fancy looping combo, jumping up, or at the very basics. Like, you don't have to go so advanced. Like, you can get something like that, right? If that's more your speed. But yeah, you get a lot off it because it launches very high up. You can also get combos just by itself if you don't want to commit to a lariat. Like, you can, right? But you don't have to. So, just very strong, good counter hit, good poke, good counter poke, good meaty, which we'll talk about later. It's just a hell of a move. Next normal to talk about is stand heavy slash. This is the big boot. So the big boot, just like the sweep, is also a disjointed hitbox. Now, not as much, because that'd be insane, but basically the part of her foot cannot be hit. So you can hit them, they can't hit you at the tip of her foot, making it a very solid poke. And, with the dash, which we'll talk about more later, makes it, have a lot more range, so her effective footsies potential is a lot better than most of the cast. Not much to say past that. It's just a very dominant normal, huge range, even more range with a dash. Has a lot of options both on hit and on block. It's barely negative on block either, because you always have the threat of dog lariat behind it, so sometimes they'll just wait and block, at which point if they don't attack immediately, you can steal your turn back. Just a solid workhorse of a move. Next up, jumping heavy slash. So a jump heavy is always good, just, general jump in pressure. Like, okay, you do it, and then, like, I'll get my combo or whatever, right? One of the things about it, though, is it arcs upwards rather than downwards. Most jumping attacks are either straight ahead or they go, like, from up to down. This goes from down to up. Meaning there's a lot of situations basically where it's a dominant air-to-air move. Because since it goes down to up, well, then it'll hit them if they happen to be any kind of above you. Also, one of the best things about this, specifically when it comes to air-to-air stuff, is if it counter hits, it launches the opponent upwards. Most of the time, you're going to spike to the ground, or basically you wouldn't be able to get anything off of it. This is Combo City. You can get whatever you want off this. As you can see here, it launches them so high up. You can do something like, I don't know, real base like this. I'm just kind of inventing this combo. There you go, right? Easy conversion, all thanks to the fact it launched so high up. You had a lot of time to confirm. A lot of other air-to-air normals do not give you this. They just don't. So when it comes to just, general pressure, it's a really good long-range heavy normal, so it's really good for jump-ins. And turns out for air-to-air, you're going to get a lot out of it. Another very notable normal is her jumping kick. So first up here, it hits both sides. So there you go, right? Simple as that. A rarity in this game. And since it can't hit both sides, it's her go-to cross-up. If you're going to try to cross-up, you're going to be using this. And, of course, her flippy kick to get the follow-up. Really not too much more to it than that, honestly. But an easy cross-up, like, there's actually not many cross-ups in this game. Unlike most traditional 2D fighters, they're usually rotten with all sorts of cross-ups. Cross-ups, not a lot of characters can do them easily. Like, they can do them, but there's, like, some sort of setup or some sort of gimmick or just something else that need be done. This is just to simply go over their head and hit kick. No fuss, no muss, right? And you can air dash and set up from a long ways away and just kind of go from there. So her cross-up game just immediately is easier and stronger than most characters, and it's all thanks to jumping kick. And finally, for notable normals, I just want to mention stand punch. Because stand punch is 4 frames. So yes, it's not a 3-framer like a lot of characters, but it is 4 frames. It does naturally combo into your forward punch, your 6P. So in situations where you got to hit a button but you don't trust Soul and the Sente to get you through because they might be matching lows, this will catch the enemy and you can get a little bit of a combo conversion from it. Not to mention it has more range and people have similar style moves that are even slower, right? Whereas poor Gold Lewis can't hit you from this far away, Giovanna totally can. So the range on it, considering how fast it is pretty dang decent. Now let's talk one of the most unique aspects of the character, and that's her dash. So she doesn't run, but not every character runs. Some characters also dash, right? But their dash is not Giovanna's dash. Giovanna's dash is on a whole nother level. So first up and foremost, before we even talk about anything else, if you want to put any time in Giovanna, I highly suggest exactly this. Go in your button settings and set a button for dashing. Set a unique button because you're going to be dashing a lot. Plink dashing, as we'll talk about in a second, is super key to her moveset and her structure, her everything. if you want to play Giovanna, please, please, please bind dash to a button. Pretty much more so than just about any character in the game. So Giovanna, the thing with the dash, and especially as of the latest patch, because it got way stronger, is the fact that you can cancel the dash whenever you want. So if you want to like go most of the way and then cancel it, sure. If you want to cancel like frame 1, sure, whatever. And any point in between. This gives her an effective neutral game, more like an Axel or a Potemkin. Because the range of like something like a stand heavy is not just this. It can also be that, right? And all I have to do is dash, wait the appropriate amount of time I think I need for the distance, and then hit the button. So if I only need to go forward a little bit, then it'll go forward a little bit. And it'll keep that forward momentum. That's the beauty of this, right? Like stand kick really showcases this. So stand kick by itself and plink dash, where I hit dash and immediately hit kick. I basically hit them like one frame after the other. So it looks like that when it comes to the inputs. That's why we call it plink dashing. It's an old Street Fighter 4 technique. So when I plink dash, look at that forward momentum. So she's only dashing for like a single frame, but I'm keeping all that forward momentum, and this applies to literally all my moves on the ground. So this turbocharges her offense big, big, big time. This gives her so much more control of the ground than you normally think. And already, like, her normals, like especially in, like, as we went over, like, you know, sweep, stand heavy, they're pretty good in comparison to just about any character. And then you give them all this extra range, and they get all the better yet, right? And that's hardly the only thing. There's actually a lot more to talk about. We'll put in another section. But just that by itself should be enough. Like, let's look at an example combo here. So just something super basic. Kick, 6p into dog lariat. As of the new patch 2, it's a lot better because 6p launches the enemy much higher up, so you can use this as a much more reliable combo. And you think, well, okay, well, I gotta kind of be really close to the enemy, and like, well, no, you don't, because now that works. Because not only does the dash keep the momentum into the kick, it keeps the momentum into the 6p as well. So you're getting 2 moves that keep the dash momentum. So all of a sudden, and this is a very fast move, by the way. Like most normals that are like any kind of range, they're like 9, 10, 11, 12 frames, right? This is a 6-frame move. So you are now effectively competing at a speed and a range other characters cannot. They have to throw up much slower buttons. That's about the long and short of it right there, right? And also the dash is super quick. That's great. And of course, you know, not just basic attacks, you can dash into a throw. The throw does not gain as much from the forward momentum. Like, you'll whiff further, but it'll get you in, and you can throw whenever you want, because you can cancel at any point along the way, which is very good. And it's just super strong. Like, basically, take any normal you think of, and you can add double the range to it, or more, especially in the case of stand kick, right? So just keep this in mind. It's a super, super, super core concept of the character, and you need to use this correctly if you want to maximize your potential with Giovanna. Now, one thing with everything we've said previously in mind is Giovanna a rushdown character? I know at first blush, well, of course she is, right? But realistically, it's more of a yes and a no. Unlike some other rushdown characters in the game, like Chip, like Milia, Giovanna can afford to kind of just sit back for a hot minute, right? She doesn't have to fully commit like other characters, and this is once again off the base of the strength of her normals, and the fact that she can dash cancel a lot of stuff, and stuff like her sweep. She can afford to play a slower, more defensive footsies-based game, unlike some of the more true rushdown characters in the game. So I'm saying this basically just for you to keep in mind when you're playing Giovanna. Don't necessarily take it as, I gotta get in, I gotta get in, I gotta go, 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 like just go nuts all the time, right? You, as a character, have the tools to be able to afford to just sit and chill for a minute, right? Other person wants to play footsies, great. You got a massively disjointed hitbox to play with. Due to dash canceling, you can be in whenever you want with a big button. Her whiff punish game, thanks to the dash and kick, is among the best in the game. Like any whiff move, easy punish. No problem. Like, it's literally that easy. Any character whiffs any kind of move at a distance, literally just plink dash kick in, and you're good to go. And thankfully, naturally, Sepultura is a natural combo, right? So you whiff, get hit. Simple as that, right? So you can walk back and forth, you know, punishing whiffs, all that kind of stuff. You don't have to go in. I just wanted to do that because so many Giovanna players I see just want to attack, they go berserk, right? And that's cool and fun. Do not get me wrong. And a lot of what Guilty Gear Strive is rewards exactly that. But you are uniquely allowed to just chill and take it easy because you have a toolbox that gives you those options. So now let's talk close slash, because this is a workhorse normal for her. A lot of people's close slash is their best button too, right? Not everybody, but a lot of characters. But for her, it really kind of is her best button because it gives a lot to work with. So first off, like many other close slashes, yes, it is indeed plus on block. And as we mentioned before, she has a lot of plus on block stuff compared to the average character. So this is just another layer on that. It is +3 on block specifically. Another thing to note here, it is dash cancelable. So you can dash right afterwards and, well, it'll work. Now, it is not the kind of dash you can cancel frame 1, because otherwise that would like basically lead to an infinite. So you do have to wait for this dash to finish specifically before you can hit a button. But still, it is very valuable just to do so and, like, you know, create whatever pressure you want to do. On hit or on block, it is jump cancelable. So you can just do this and then, oh, boom, easy cross up, right? You can do that. If they're standing, you can hit them with a jump heavy slash on the way up. You can also go for an even quicker cross up if they're standing specifically, in that you go into jump and into your cross up, your double flip kick right away. Actually just a little bit faster than jump kick will, which is interesting. So if they happen to be standing, that's great. And you know, if they're crouching, it goes into dust, right? So maybe it's a little lame, maybe it's a little easy bake oven, but there's a little bit of a mix up if they're a little slow on the uptake, right? Because that's overhead, which forces standing, and then when they're standing, then you can force them to block this, or force them to block, you know, the cross up, that kind of stuff. Very hit confirmable as a singlet. Like, just do the move, don't immediately go into your next move. Just do the move. Oh, it hit, cool. Going like down, heavy slash or something, and then from there, go like Sepultura or whatever. Like, you simply do not need the counter hit effect to hit confirm this move. Like, it certainly helps, don't get me wrong, right? But you don't need it. Also, one of the beauties about this, when the move connects, so say the enemy is crouching, it also forces standing. Like, that effect happens no matter what. So if it gets the counter hit and it forces standing, this actually leads to some of our more optimal punish routes. Because you can jump up with a jump heavy slash because they're very high up in the air, and it'll launch them from there. There you go, easy bake oven combo, right? And keep in mind too, in situations where you block a reversal, it is always a guaranteed counter hit as well, right? So combos like this, where you can do just all sorts of airborne stuff, like, you can do whatever, like, it's great. Like, even on his most basic level, you can get something like that, right? And that's still a decent chunk of change. So close heavy slash is an absolute workhorse. Some of your best punishes, plus on block, all sorts of gimmicks. So when you go for it, just let it rock is what I say. Don't immediately cancel into the next thing, because you can wait and hit confirm it. If it gets blocked, whatever, it's still your turn because it's very plus and all that. It's a dominant normal. Now let's go back to that dash again. We've already talked in the video how great dash is. Her ground dash gives so much to the character, and especially after the most recent balance patch where it turbocharged the character, in my opinion. But another great aspect of the dash is it lets you get in for free for the most part. Now, why is that? Well, specifically, you can block while dashing. It's actually that simple. Now, for a lot of other characters, you know, that's not necessarily how she works, right? You can't block while still running, for example. You can run, but while you're running, you got to stop running the block, right? You don't keep that forward momentum as soon as you let go of the gas. But for her, she can complete her full dash and still block. It's literally as simple as just dashing, then holding back. That simple, right? Now, if you hit back too quick, you'll accidentally backdash, so you got to watch out for that. But for characters that outrange you, like a Potemkin, like an Axel, or say you don't trust your ability to deal with fireballs on reaction or something like that, just simply dash and then hold back. and you'll work your way forward while still actively blocking. So it's a good way to kind of bulldoze through stuff. Keep yourself safe, sure, but if nothing happened and you didn't have to block, you'll still get that little burst of forward momentum. Now, for the purposes of this, it's better to specifically crouch block, because if you just regular back block, you'll start walking backwards, right? You will start undoing the gains of your forward dash. You don't want to do that. Versus if you just down back, well, then you'll remain in place. So that little bit of territory you've gained, you'll just hunker down and keep it. So just keep that in mind, right? Generally speaking, you won't be dashing forward into random overheads. So you don't have to worry about stand blocking, like crouch blocking will do just fine. And it just lets you keep that bit of extra forward momentum versus like frame one undoing what you did. So dash, block, it's what the doctor ordered. Now let's talk Giovanna as a grappler. I know that sounds like a silly concept because, well, she doesn't have any command grabs. And her basic grab, well, it's basic, right? It doesn't really do much more than the average character. But the thing is, the circumstances where she can set it up is more than the average character. One, as we talked about a million times already in the video, her unique dash lets her get in from ranges other characters can't, right? People who run takes a little bit of a startup, you know, all that kind of stuff. They just can't get in and throw fast as Giovanna can. Simple as that. Giovanna, her ability to dash and throw just is better than the average character. Like, they can't do it the same way. So that's +1 for her grabs. Giovanna has a lot of sources of plus frames. Be it Travajo, be it the flip. These are moves where if you dare try to challenge her, if she hits a button, she's going to go first and you're going to get your head kicked all the way in, right? So this leads to passivity. And when there's passivity, then all of a sudden, I'm going to throw you. Simple as that, right? So the fact that she has more plus frames to work with than the average character, and pretty easily enforceable plus frames, like not too difficult to get off, right? Will lead to these moments of passivity and then more moments to throw the enemy. Simple as that, right? So that's another point for her. We have dash kick. Dash kick actually is one of the best throw setups in the game. And we can enforce it too off a situation where she's plus. So all you got to be is just basically a little bit near the enemy. Dash kick, right? The thing with dash kick, especially now after the patch where situations are much more threatening, okay, I can follow it up, you know, with like 6p into Sepultura or whatever, right? Or I can just throw you frame one immediately. It's a little negative on block. And basically, if you throw right after that negative on block, the throw protection's already gone, you get it right away. And then, of course, you know, well, if that's the case, then I, as the enemy, could throw you, right? And you'd be, well, frankly, absolutely correct. So if we set the enemy here to throw, specifically. So we try this little setup here. Oh, we get chucked. Like, no saving us. And the thing is here, canceling into 6p beats everything. So throws are 2-frame moves, so that's the fastest possible move we can throw out. And it still crushes it, right? So it becomes a little bit of a guessing game in and of itself. Like, kick into 6p and Sepultura is totally safe, so there's no risk. And you can toss this out and go for your throw. And once they start trying to tech or hit a button, that's going to get them killed. Because the 6p will crush them. And also, due to it being the first hit of the combo starter, it launches a bit higher than it normally does. Combined with Sepultura falling after the fact, you get better combos. So that's something you couldn't get if the kick hit first, right? That only will happen if the 6p connects first as a counter hit. So your damage potential is going up. To the point, so much so if you happen to have any meter to work with, you can actually get your super after the fact. And that's a lot of damage. So basically in the end, just think of it this way. She has a lot of plus frames, which enforce a lot of strike grab mix-ups. She can basically use, you know, plink kick after the fact, dash plink kick after the fact, which will be another layer of strike throw mix-up, because here we are. All right, then I'm going to dash and throw you after the plus frames, or I'll dash and kick you after the plus frames, right? So that's already strike throw mix. And then we can add another layer on top of that, right? So her throw game, yes, it's a basic throw. It's not a command grab, but her basic throw game is definitely well above the average character. Now it's time to talk safe jumps. where we can attack the enemy as they're waking up. And if they don't do anything, if they're passive, we get our attack through. And if they try any kind of reversal, we're able to block in time. Very important concept in fighting games. And Giovanna has some pretty easy setups for it, honestly. This is a lot on the back of Sepultura. So Sepultura is a true hard knockdown. And if you happen to juggle with it as a hard knockdown, it'll actually lead the enemy pretty close to you. And this works out fantastic for our purposes. So basic combo here, we'll just do kick 6p Sepultura, right? And the enemy is set to wake up with their fastest reversal. So from here, what we want to do is dash forward. And since it's a true hard knockdown, we can hit them while they're on the ground. We're going to hit them with close slash. And then from there, just instant air dash forward and heavy slash. There you go. So in this specific scenario here, Kai is doing his reversal, so we can't hit him, right? But that's only because he's invincible. If we take away that invincibility, all of a sudden this exact setup, you can see it cranks him in the head, right? So we're totally safe to block if he does his reversal, and if he doesn't do his reversal, then he gets cranked in the head. And that's a faster reversal. Not the fastest, which we'll talk about in a second. But for the most part, this will beat 90% of reversals in the game. It's literally that simple. Get them in the air, knock them up with Sepultura so they'll spin out. And from there, just dash forward, close slash, which will force them to tech against their will. And then instant air dash and heavy slash kick. Boom. That simple. And if they reverse, you get the block in time. You can literally, as you instant air dash heavy, you can hold back. And you'll block first possible frame. And if you block, then you're going to get a way bigger combo, right? Now, the thing is, the vast majority of reversals in this game happen 8 frame startup or later. So anything that is 8 frame startup or later, that simple setup will always work. But the thing is, some characters, and this is very few, some characters like Soul, like Leo, with their slash versions, not the heavy slash, the regular slash versions of their reversals are 7 frames. And all of a sudden you see it says punish. So the difference of a singular frame of animation is exactly the difference to make this not work. So does that mean we simply can't do anything at all? Well, no, we still can, but we just have to change it a little bit. The other setup, once again, beats 90% of reversals in the game. That's great, that's fine. But for characters specifically with 7 frame reversals, we got to change it up just a little bit. So what we want to do is this. We want to hit them with stand kick on their knockdown. And then we go into the same setup. And now it works. The thing is here, it just basically alters the timing. So it'll work against 7 framers. And yes, it'll work against 8 framers and above as well. So the thing is simply this. The close slash version will get you more damage. So same setup, just a little bit more damage. And frankly and honestly, the kick version is more difficult. There's going to be a lot of situations where you can get the version with close slash, but you cannot get the version with kick. So in our version here where we're using our plink dash kick into 6p into Sepultura, those situations, yes. But situations where it knocks you back a little too far, you're not going to get it. Whereas you could get the close slash version. So just buyer beware on that. So it's an option, but it's a more restrictive option, but it will get rid of the people with the extra fast reversals. So most of the cast, close slash, it's fine. But for characters like Soul, characters like Leo, 7 frame reversals, and only if they do the slash version. If they do the heavier versions, then it's slower, then the old setup works just fine. But for those characters, you want to go kick into instant air dash, into heavy slash, and then you'll still get the safe jump property. So we just talked safe jump setup, so let's just talk something more simple. Dog Oki. Sweep. We talked about it earlier. It's great for a variety of reasons, right? And one of them is it has a lot of active frames, meaning if you do it on the opponent's wake up, you can actually cover the wake up very easily. And to the point where most of the time, if they block, you'll be advantage on block. Yes, the move point blank is a little negative, But since it has so many active frames, if it hits meaty into those active frames, that means when they block, your advantage. And a lot of situations like this. So we'll do this. And once again here, it has the super disjointed hitbox. Only Giovanna can get hit. None of the rest of the attack can get hit, right? So we can just do this on people's wake up and very safe. So in that situation, that's a clash. And clashes being clashes and how they work. You can clash cancel into whatever you want. You can be safe and follow his defense, or you can go for whatever attack, right? So there's a lot of situations against invincible reversals, you'll just clash. But there's also a lot of situations and a lot of things where you kind of just beat it clean. And one of the better things about this too is it also, for the most part, crushes wake up backdash. Backdash invincibility is only a handful of frames, but since this move has so many active frames, it'll actually burn through the invincibility and still hit them before they hit the ground. Case in point right there, right? So Soul, for part of it, had the invincibility to get out of it, but he still got hit by the move in the end. So try to use this at kind of the tip of the move, once again, so Giovanna doesn't get hit. But if it's a character without any reliable invincible reversal, this is a very safe way to control their wake up. Maybe it's not guaranteed. Maybe they just block, right? And that's it, and that's all. But it's a very safe way to just pressure them, and they just kind of have to groove on it. Now, let's talk a universal blue Roman cancel mix-up. For Giovanna, this is easily one of the easiest BRC mix-ups in the game. All you need to start is a close slash. That's it. Once you got that, we're good to go. Why? If you recall earlier in the video, we talked that in fact you can dash cancel it, right? So normally you try to do this in your Roman cancel, you're going to get a red Roman cancel. No good for our purposes. But since you can dash cancel it, the dash is not an attack, dash cancel it and then forward Roman cancel the dash, and it becomes a blue Roman cancel with that very lovely and handy time stop, which is exactly what we're going to be using. So it's very simple. It's this cut and this dry. We're going to do this, dash, and then use our blue Roman cancel off the dash, and then we're just going to go high or low. Simple as that. The dust and the sweep almost hit on the same frame. They're only a couple frame differential, right? And you can tiny delay on the sweep to make it the exact same, so it doesn't really matter, right? So for people to say they can just easily block both, no, dude, that is not happening. Not happening at all. So what we do from there is this. So our first hit is getting blocked. We dash cancel BRC, right? And say for our low option, we'll go sweep.
Here maybe?
And there you go. We're a little closer to the corner, 50% awesome, right? Great. That's a lot of damage. That's the low. Now say they're crouching, right? So they still get the block low slash. But if we go for the overhead option now, they'll get smacked by the dust. So that's just an example combo, right? Not tons of damage, but this is the kind of thing you want to use to close out a round. Because, you know, an enemy with 1 point of health still does 100 points of damage, right? So if you're just looking to close out the round, you know the enemy's being defensive and you just want to get them, then this is one of the best ways, because this is a 50-50 as far as it goes. They basically have to guess low or overhead, and these are both fast enough that realistically, you're not going to be able to reaction block. You just kind of have to guess which one's going to be which. And you might ask, well, what if the slash actually hits? Well, then no worries.
Here maybe?
Because then this all becomes a natural combo. Yeah, I know it turns gray, but that's just kind of how BRCs work. This actually is a real combo. It's the same way how it works with Potemkin. So if you actually just get that to connect, then you're good to go. Don't worry. You can get whatever combo you can dream up from that situation. So it's just gravy, right? But yeah, so if you're just looking to close out a close round, this is one of those things where you just put them in a 50-50. They can't hit buttons fast enough. Even Soul, right? Soul. So Soul has the stupid fast 3-frame kick. But the thing is, simply, when you're done it correctly, he still doesn't have enough time to do it. Like, that was all true block stun. He didn't even have time to hit the button, let alone me counter hitting him, right? So if you do it with the proper timing of close slash, dash cancel, then blue RC cancel the dash, even someone with such a ridiculously fast normal against such a slow move like Stand Dust, he still can't get it out in time. So it's just an airtight way to finish off a round. Now to talk some block string theory. Obviously enough, every attack you do, well, it's not going to go through, the enemy can block. And as of the recent patch here, faultless defense blocking has been buffed, so certain strings you might go for before will no longer, well, fully connect, right? If you wait too long or you try to stagger your attacks, like, you're going to get beat up. Even something like close slash into down heavy slash, if they're faultless defensing, it will never connect now. And they can definitely punish your whiff. So in these situations, what kind of block strings are guaranteed? Well, like something like the old dash forward slash and the heavy slash, it's still gonna work. And more to the point, if you go to Sepultura, it still works, and it's kind of even better in a way, because it's only -4, and with the pushback now, -4 from this far away might as well be neutral, honestly. So in situations where you want to end with Sepultura, the pushback with faultless defense now, honestly, is to your benefit. You just get a true neutral reset, and in a true neutral reset, in my opinion, Giovanna has the advantage over a lot of the cast. But against situations where the enemy is faultless defensing and you're getting pushed out in ways you never would have in previous patches or previous builds of the game, something like this will still always work. So down slash is a double hitting move, yes. And if you go close slash and down slash, with the pushback, your second hit will whiff. But the first one will connect. And the first one can go right into heavy slash. So even with non-stop faultless defense on, you know, the first attack, which isn't always going to happen, you can still get all this as a guarantee. So realistically, your block pressure is not as bad off as you thought. You just can't go into certain things brain dead anymore. This is how it worked for a lot of other characters in the game, right? So Giovanna has to apply that level of critical thinking now. What if they faultless defense? Because before, she could kind of just do whatever she wanted and didn't have to think about it. But now just tailor craft some of your strings and you'll always get around faultless defense regardless. Also, when it comes to counter poke, so say a situation like this. So we're not punishable here, so we're not close enough to get hit by a stand kick. But if he wants to go for stand slash 10 frames, we're -4. So yeah, he's kind of going to beat us a lot of the time, but not all the time. That's one of the beauties here is since she has a lot of tools in the toolbox to work with, we can kind of think these things out. Since she is blessed to have a 4-frame move, in situations like this where they're going to attack back with a slash normal, we can actually just go into our standing punch and then 6p and then counter him out. 4 frames is very fast. Yes, it's not quite a soul 3 frames, I know, but still, in situations like this where poking back with slash is seemingly the option you'd want to do, even from pretty far away, thanks to the fact we have our 4-frame move, we can steal a lot of turns. Really that simple, right? Seems a little counterintuitive. We call this term in Virtual Fighter abare, where you're attacking at a disadvantage, but it can be done. Now, an easier example here, and this specifically will rely on certain normals, is you can just 6p back. That's fine, right? 6p back. And due to their changes to her 6p, you can always get Sepultura after the fact. Now, if you want to be a really tricky boy, though, what you want to do is Sol Nascente. So Sol Nascente, like a 6p, has upper body invincibility. So there's just a lot of situations where you can beat popebacks clean as day, right? But there's also a lot of situations where you can counter or trade and counter. And keep in mind, it has the big launch when it counters, right? So you can do this to your great benefit. All of a sudden, that counter hit just turned into, oh my god, it's even more than I thought it was going to be. Jesus. So about 60%, right? So using that unique counter hit launch property here, a lot of times either you'll beat it clean, and beating it clean is like, I guess that's not the worst thing in the world, right? Beating something clean. But if you manage to get that trade and that counter hit and that launch, if you got the resources to work with, man, oh man, you can really make them pay the price. So when it comes to stealing turns, block string theory, all that kind of stuff, even when you're negative, it's definitely not the end. Next up is a simple option select, but it's a very important option select. Now, once you do heavy slash, for the most part, that's where your combo structure, your block string structure, whatever you're doing, that's when it's over. Either you let it rock or you go into Sepultura, right? And since it's a great poke, you're going to be getting a lot of counter hits with this move. But the thing is, a counter hit with a Sepultura, like, it's damage. You won't argue against it, but you're not getting anything past that. That is all you're getting. But a counter hit with stand heavy kick into Travau, it's a lot more damage, right? So I'm going to show you how to always get Sepultura on regular hit or on block, and always get Travau on counter hit. And it's pretty simple. So all I want you to do is this. Do your heavy slash, and then immediately input down to back, your quarter circle back, and kick. So you'll get Sepultura. And then do quarter circle forward and kick, which is Travau. So in situations where you counter hit, it'll have that time slow effect, and the forward motion of Travau will overwrite the backwards motion of Sepultura. So counter hits are now set to random. I do not know when it's going to go off. So just look at my motion. It's always going to be heavy slash, then quarter circle back kick, quarter circle forward kick. And what's going to happen is always the better of the two options. See right there. So on regular hit, I got the Sepultura, and on counter hit, I'm going to get Travau. It's literally that simple. Just always do it that way, and you'll always get the best option. This will increase your damage output by quite a bit. You don't have to worry about testing your reactions on the counter, where you did one and then you see the counter flash, like, oh, and you try to input the Travau to, you know, make up for it, and like you might screw up. This just always works. It's no fuss, no muss. You're not going to be doing anything else, right? Like, if you get Sepultura and like whatever, you just entered that for nothing. Like, but it's not a big deal. So you just might as well always go for it and always get the best possible option. So now one of the bigger changes post-patch for Giovanna is her new addition of loop combos. And you've probably seen all sorts of things, like if you've seen the companion combo guide, which will be linked at the end of this video. You've seen like going corner to corner against the big characters, but it's a lot more than just the fancy big character combos. So there you go. That was basically corner to corner as well, right? And that definitely wasn't on one of the bigger characters. Kai, not quite the size of Gold Lewis, right? So one of the core things is this. Simply, and this is, it's a little nuanced, I guess. Like, you can't tell this just by watching the video, but it is all about the timing. Regardless how you get it, because like that's one specific combo example, but pretty much all these guys here. The core concept is this. When you hit jump heavy slash when they're in the air. So all these guys all rely on dash kick, right? The new and improved dashing attacks, like before this patch, this kind of stuff wasn't possible, right? So you do need that. And generally speaking, you want to dash kick as fast as you can. Some combos, not so much, but for the most part, you want to do it as fast as you can. And then when you're in that scenario, you don't want to jump and heavy slash immediately. Just give it a few frames. Give it a split second of space. Like right there. I did it as fast as possible. I was never, like, I'm way too far away, right? But if you give it just a split second, you'll be higher up. You'll launch the enemy higher up. You'll be able to fall to the ground quicker. And then all of a sudden, you can get it. It's one of the hardest things in video to describe timing to people. So it's going to take you a little bit, but that is probably more than anything else the thing I want to stress. In all the variations of all the loops, do not hit jump heavy slash as fast as you can. If you do, it'll still connect due to the wild arc it has, but that is usually where you will fail. You do want to delay just a tiny bit, and then all of a sudden, a lot more stuff will become possible. From there, you want to go into dust. It's the double hitting move. That's what also makes a lot of this possible. And then another quick dash kick into whatever you want. If loops are kind of hard for you, dash kick into Sepultura, just end the combo right there. And if you can get the hang of it, you can go into dash kick into another jump heavy slash, into another jump dust, and just keep looping from there. Practice makes perfect, 100%, more than anything else. This is the trickiest thing she has. Before this patch, she was a pretty simplistic character, but these kind of combos are much more advanced than anything she's had before. And with the element of timing, that means you will have to put in, well, frankly, the time. And in our last section, I just want to talk about dealing with low profile moves. Before the patch, Giovanna didn't even have to remotely think about it because stand slash destroyed low profile moves. But they changed it so no longer does. So situations where she would have just crushed it for free, maybe not so much anymore. So how does she deal with low profile moves? Well, naturally, easily enough, you can do anything that hits low. So like her sweep is a great example. Obviously any kind of crouching normals, that's fine. But there's some other stuff to work with. And this is where I want to speak of the merits of Sepultura as a move by itself to be used in neutral. Yes, a lot of times you want to do a heavy slash and do it or something, right? But the thing is, heavy slash loses the low profile moves, right? A lot of your best pokes lose to low profile moves. What Sepultura doesn't do is lose the low profile moves because it actually hits all the way across the ground. So with characters like Anino, where they'll go for a lot of low profile moves, this is the answer, because while you can now low profile stand slash, you can low profile a lot of her other offense, you cannot low profile Sepultura. Also, as an additional bonus for characters like Ino, where they could low profile you, they could do something in the air, this also hits all the way up as well. So effectively, it's just a big wall of people trying to approach, be it in the ground, be it in the air, whatever. You might trade. It is a bit slower. Once again, it is slower than some of your standard normals you'd want to use, but it also removes a lot of element of doubt. You can be sure that it's just a big defensive wall, high or low coming at you, you will be able to deal with it. And that's a lot of what Giovanna is in a nutshell. So I hope this video has helped you on your journey to learn the character. She's a bit straightforward, but straightforward's not a bad thing. And as far as her combo structure goes, due to the fact she can now basically loop just about anything if she manages to get you airborne, that's definitely a lot more advanced. So that will require an element of timing she never really had to worry about before. But still, game plan is get in, kick your head in, right? But she has a bundle of great normals to work with, some of the better normals in the game. She can be as straightforward as you want, but she can also be a lot more nuanced, as we talked earlier in the video. She can play a lot more defensively than you think you can, due to the nature of how a lot of her moves work. So either offense or defense, it can kind of work out just great. And, well, she has a dog. Other characters don't have a dog. She does, so that's a big feather in her cap for sure. But my friends, that's the end of this video, so I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something maybe you didn't know before about Giovanna. And we're signing off. So if you could leave a like, that would be very appreciated. These videos take a very long time to make after all. And otherwise, we're at the end of the video, so thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well. Go out and play some Guilty Gear.